bless everyone out there in Radio Land. This is Barry and Karen coming to you from Embracing Marriage Live on our Embracing Marriage Together podcast. And we usually do a Dare to Be Different, but we decided to do a marriage one on today and on marriage and relationships. But this particular lesson could apply for any particular relationship, not just marriage.
Yeah.
So we want to kind of share with you some of the things that God kind of shared with us. I'm trying to get this right so it won't be all in my face, and it's not working out well. Okay. All right. Excuse me. So anyway, welcome to our live podcast on Twitch.tv. Under Brace Gaming, which is our actual gaming / podcast site where we do our podcast and also stream. I have an updated schedule soon as to when I actually stream, because I think my schedule changed and time changed, so I'm going to update the schedule so we can be on the countdown properly, because I think it's past the countdown now. Well, usually it switches once I go live, so everything's good. So we thank God again for you just joining us and being with us on the podcast. And cut that off right now. It's at night light. And so we're going to talk about something that we encountered. One thing we always do. Say this before I talk about what we're going to talk about. Well, no, let me talk about what we're going to talk about. Then I'll say what I have to say. We're going to talk about forgiveness and reconciliation. We did a lesson on it before, which was don't say you're sorry, just ask forgiveness. And we did it based on, I think it was our first live podcast that we did on Twitch.tv. And it was, I'm going to put it up there if you didn't want to get a chance to see it. It's the very first one. My wife was fixed up like she is now. Well, actually, she had makeup still on from church. We did it on Sunday. Our first live one was on Sunday.
Yeah.
We did it on Sunday night.
Yeah.
And we had a nice little crowd. Everybody joined pretty much. That joined. We happened to have someone come in the stream. Who was listening to the lesson, because we did a list. We had a list of about 11 things we was going to do on marriage. And so my wife said, well, we don't have to go according to order. She'll say, well, just pick one. So we picked one, and the one we picked is the one we did the lesson on. That was the one the Lord wanted to use that night. And so we reached a couple that night. And also, I think somebody ended up listening to the same podcast. I'm trying to think, because they sent us a message on our website that they had heard our lesson on letting go. And I think that's what it was. I'm thinking it was that one.
Yeah.
And because her and her husband watched it, and they said it was just awesome. Keep up teaching. She encouraged us really, because it was the first real comment where we had. We've been kind of just doing this and been planting and planting and planting. Keep sowing seed. Eventually, something will grow. So we thank God that somebody we always encourage people to comment if they want to comment. It didn't matter, to us it was bad or good, but at the time we was looking forward just some kind of response. Is somebody actually listening to this? Yeah. Somebody told me that I've been on other streams, and like I shared on the last time I was on, someone that was following us actually told me they was listening to one of our podcasts. He told me it was the one that was actually, I mentioned one of the other streamers that we follow. And I always mention these streams because, like I say, a lot of times I'm always in their streams, and they know who I am. They know I do a podcast. Some of them have seen it, some have not. 3 of them at least that have seen the most have been my mods. So those are my mods. So those particular ones, especially the Godly Geek, he auto hosts me. So at least I get one person. I don't get nobody else. I get him, and he's a faithful follower in our podcast. On Twitter. He's also on Twitter. He's a real active Twitter follower. He tweets a lot, retweets. He's a Twitter person. And me, I'm not heavy on Twitter. I only use it when I'm announcing stuff like this. I talk about our podcast. So I don't mess with it too much. My wife, she monitors all that. She's our social media manager. She manages all our social media, so you can't come on there with all no craziness. You're gonna get blocked. The block ministry is real.
Yeah, in my life, yes, it is.
Yeah, the block ministry is real.
It is a God given to me.
Yes, yeah, we know how to get you off our stuff. I'm telling you. So but the ones we have now. And it's good. We don't have a whole lot of people because, like I said, we're just building this. We're really not. We don't have a whole lot of people as far as followers, but we do have a lot of people listening. So I thank God for that, and that's what matters. I want to the more they download it, the more I know that we're doing a good job. And when we don't do one, they don't download. Just plain and simple. Yeah. So I thank God that we're keeping up as much as best we can. We're doing over, like I said, could have been farther along as far as our downloads on Podbean. We're just doing like 3.5 or something close to that, and so we're doing pretty good considering. At any rate, we're not going to hold y'all too long. We're not going to ramble on too long either. We're going to get into a lesson. Like I said, we're going to get into a lesson that we actually learned from a book that we learned a lesson out of. It's actually teaching at our church, and this couple, I'm gonna show y'all the book so y'all can see who the book is. So I won't show in reverse. It's this book here, Love After Marriage. Barry and Lori Byrne is the author. Another Barry. And they actually do seminars called LAMS. They're called Love After Marriage seminars, and they actually have the book set up like you can actually do as a workbook where you do a lesson. Each lesson has activities and you have homework and stuff like that. And what it does is it gets you active into doing something to enhance your marriage or to deal with situations in your marriage. And how we came across the book actually was through a situation when we was going through a real rough time in our marriage, and we were dealing with some personal issues that we hadn't resolved, and we didn't know how, and we were dealing with this stuff, and then we went to a couple in our church. He had, and I talked to him, and he had just got there, really. I think he hadn't been there that long. Yeah. He had been there a while. He had just got over the marriage ministry. They actually formed one in our church. We didn't have one. So they had been trying to do something like that, but then he finally got that, and he's the guy, him and his wife is over it. And so it was my first time ever really talking to him. I see him in the church, but I never really had talked to him. So it was my first time. I called him because he was out working. He owns a water company, so he lives in water and the plants and stuff. And he actually called me, and he told me, so go get this book. Go get this book called Love After Marriage. That's what he called. And I said, no, I think we ended up buying it from the bookstore. She went to the bookstore. And I went bought it. And went bought it. So we had that one book, because we ended up with two, because we got one because we found out they were actually teaching that book. We had read like almost all of it by the time they started teaching it.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but that was all we did was read it. We didn't do any activities. We didn't do any homework.
No.
We just read it.
That's all.
And that's not going to do you any good if you're not going to do activity. Actually, if you get this book, you can find it anywhere pretty much. But if you get this book, do the activities and do the homework. He encourages us in the same way. And then we realized after a while that, maybe we need to do some of this stuff. Yeah. Instead of just reading it. Because usually back in the day, we would read the books and we would discuss it as we read. But it's different when you do the activities. We found out, like, this really works. Yeah, it actually is proven because they've done it in seminars in front of people. They've done it over the years. They've been doing this for a while. So yeah, if you do this stuff, we found out, especially recently, we really found out one particular thing worked. Something that we wish we would have done a long time ago. We read it, but we never did the activity.
Yeah.
So, and it's actually chapter 9 of the book. It's called Steps to Reconciliation. And I think we need to define. I think it has a part where it talks about what reconciliation
is.
Well, he started with a story.
I'll give you the book.
Okay. He started with a story. Him and his son was having some problems. And they went through these steps. And he had discovered he was use these steps. His wife suggested after he was having a problem trying to communicate. And he wasn't listening, and his son was trying to tell him what was wrong with him, but he wasn't listening because he was too busy trying to tell him why he did what he did. He was justifying his actions.
Right. And we had to learn.
Yeah.
We had to learn a lesson from that.
Yeah, we had to learn a lesson from that.
Which we'll share.
Yeah.
As we go on.
One of the statements he said here, true reconciliation is motivated by love for the other person and your genuine concern for his or her pain. We must let ourselves feel the pain of the other person and put those feelings into words. So one of the steps is that you had to say to the person, and I'm gonna read the steps in a minute because there's something I'm gonna want to accept on to another statement. He said, often I observe saying I'm sorry or will you forgive me is not enough to reconcile a wrong. When there is a deep wound or repetitive wounding, reconciliation requires a more extensive process. And then he said his son needed him to go beyond saying he was sorry. Perhaps you experienced times when I'm sorry didn't bring the necessary healing, and feelings of hurt or pain and remained even increased. So, and say in true reconciliation, we need to care more about the pain we have caused than about our own comfort. When we go beyond simply saying I'm sorry, we allow ourselves to feel and care about the pain we put our spouse through, and then move on only from caring about what we did wrong to caring about how we affected our spouse. We move from just doing the right thing to loving. So it is a matter of well, actually, just another term that you could use for that is empathy. When you empathize with somebody, you feel what they feel. You understand what they feel and how they feel about what they feel.
Right.
Because if you're only busy worrying about how you feel, you'll never be empathetic. You'll never have any. And she would always say this. When we would get into these things, she would always tell me, say you have no sympathy with, which I found out later on. What she was really saying is that you don't understand how you don't feel what I feel. You don't understand. You're not feeling how I feel about it.
Right.
She wanted me to empathize with her, and I sympathize. And so to me, I was like, how can I sympathize? You mad? I ain't gonna grab you. That's my mind. Then I started really listening to her, and I say, well, this is what she wants: empathy, not sympathy. She wants me to feel what she feel. And that's the reason why a lot of times when she reacted, she would do it because she really wanted me to feel what she felt.
Yeah.
But she was I'm gonna tell y'all something, okay? We had no training on nothing for pertaining to marriage. We got married. The most training we got was the little bit we got. They didn't have a marriage ministry in our church. Our church was a deliverance church. They don't show you how to cast out lust, but they ain't tell you how to be a husband and wife. They just show you stay delivered, and they tell you you're supposed to, stay married and be saved and holy and all this other stuff, not cheating your wife, and that's about the most you get. But you didn't get no extensive training on how to deal with personality conflicts and how to deal with when there's differences in your opinions, and when kids get involved, when stress on money, when one loses a job, one gets sick, one and this and that, and they don't teach you all that. They didn't teach none. We had no idea what we was doing.
We were clueless.
Like the movie. We didn't have no idea what we was doing. We didn't. Because so what ended up happening, we ran into a lot of trial and error. We ran into stuff that we had never encountered in our single lives.
Never.
With anybody. So we didn't know how to handle it. I mean, when I got addicted to pornography and she found out she didn't know how to handle that, I didn't get really, and I didn't have that problem when I was in the world. That, at least not like that.
No.
And so there was stuff that we were dealing with that each of us individually didn't even deal with that much when we were single. We dealt with a summation of it, a little bit of it, but not a whole lot like we was dealing with. We never dealt with it when we was related to any couples. Like when we were dating, like she was dating, when I was dating, there were certain things that she dealt with that I didn't deal with in my relationship. Now I dealt with some crazy stuff. Believe me, we talked about this. We can sit down and tell you stories of stuff that we dealt with crazy people in our lives. But when we got married, we didn't know how to handle it the way God wanted us to handle it. Because now when we was dealing with that, we were unsaved people.
Right.
She was in the world, I was in the world. So I handled it the way the world is. You know, you get on my nerves, I'd leave you alone. I ain't got time for all that. And then she was the same way. Well, we couldn't do that now. We married. We ain't boyfriend, girlfriend. We was talking about that earlier.
Yeah, we sure were. I was telling him, I say, now, Lord, you know what? If I was single, ain't no way in the world I would be putting up with this. I told God, he be gone. Long time ago. I told you, if he's my boyfriend, honey, I'd have been told him to bounce, get out, and how to get out. And
where to get out.
And how to get in. I would help him.
Help me move.
But I had to realize, I said, okay, we're not boyfriend and girlfriend.
That's right.
So, and I had to tell myself, you signed on for this.
Yeah.
You signed on the dotted line. For better, for worse, richer, for poor. You signed on for this, so guess what?
You gotta
deal with this.
That's right.
And so that was this what God wanted us to do. We two different people.
That's it.
And so we had to learn how to. Hey, y'all married till death do you part. Y'all gonna have to live together, and y'all gonna learn how to get along. Two different people.
Yeah.
We have nothing in common but Jesus.
That's it. That's all we got in common. And that was the thing that I looked at when we got to when I got with her. That was the same way. Because once I would leave, chick do me wrong, I was like, I'm gone, man. I ain't got time for all that. It was too many around for me to be worrying about one. That's what my attitude was. But the thing is, I couldn't do that now. You know. Now there would have been times when we got to the point so I would just leave to get, to cool down and to leave to go. But she didn't know that. She had to. The abandonment issues that she had, I didn't know. I would just leave and would say, just leave. And I wasn't leaving her. I was leaving the situation just to kind of just look back and say, you know what, I can't, because you can't think in that kind of environment. When y'all constantly argue, there ain't no thinking involved.
Right.
Because you're just saying stuff out of emotion and nobody's calming down. But now we got to the point where I don't leave, I just stay.
Yeah.
I told her, I ain't going nowhere. You gonna be mad and looking at me. I'm gonna be right here. Because I ain't going nowhere. And so we did not know, because we found ourselves running into the same thing.
It was like a pattern, like we was in just in a loop.
Yeah.
Just looping and looping. And we would apologize. I mean, we would apologize to one another
after we had the
and we would be and it would be real and it would be sincere. And we was like, okay, well, something is going on because I apologize to you, you apologize to me, we accepted it.
Yeah.
So why is
this stuff keep coming up?
Yeah, why is this coming up? Why this is not dead?
Yeah.
Why is the issue still alive? Why is it still going? And we had to realize that it was a deep hurt. It was a deep, deep, deep hurt.
And
we was wounded, we was hurting, it was never resolved.
Yeah. That's it. It was unresolved stuff. And because that's what we're arguing over. We weren't arguing over nothing new.
Yeah.
it was stuff that reminded us from the past, and we was arguing over old stuff. And we was like, you know what? I told her that day that we when we read this chapter that night, that's when our eyes were open. And just like Eve and Adam in the garden, the eyes of both of them were open. We saw that what was the problem. The pattern is that we didn't deal with the situation right. We didn't deal with it properly. That's what we realized.
Yeah, we realized. A lot of times we wanted it to stop.
Yeah.
And we wanted some peace between us.
Yeah.
So we would apologize. So after we apologize, okay, it calmed down. We bagging along, and everything sweet and lovey-dovey and all this here again, and until something trigger.
Yeah.
And that trigger hit, and if I may say I do something a certain way, then he'll look at me. I hate saying that word. His perception of me would change, and mine would be of him. Then then the enemy have us looking like, well, like we just did all this apologizing, and we just did all this repenting and crying, and God forgive us, and all this stuff. And then they should know, we looking at each other all like, did you mean what you say?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm looking like, did you mean what you say? And they're like, we had that, like, the enemy come messing with both of us, like, hey man, he just saying that, and she just saying. So we was going through all this rut.
Yeah.
So we had to realize, okay, something is just not right.
Yeah, something's not right. So we had this pattern that we had, and we realized we did. And once we recognized that we had that pattern, when we read this, we recognized that's what's the issue.
Right.
Because it was the same thing. It was nothing different. I mean, it was around about the same stuff.
Yeah, and we kept apologizing.
Yeah.
And we kept repenting.
Yeah.
And we would be sorry. Generally.
We actually would apologize for the argument, for saying the things we said during that time. But we never dealt with the issue.
Because we did know, one thing we know is that, love doesn't keep count of a wrong. And we wasn't keeping count of it. It never got erased.
Yeah. Because even when you balance out something to reconcile something, actually, you should want your dictionary, babe. To reconcile. See, that's one of the things that we keeping that out the business. So, and then now we getting to the point now that a lot of this stuff we don't really need. So she don't care if it's not around. So, but I do need a dictionary. I want to define something right quick. So y'all gonna hear a lot of clicking. So y'all just forgive me. Where's my dictionary at? Well, I need to rearrange these things where I can really find them. Towels. There it is. Because there's a different. I wanted to get the definition for reconcile, and so that's why. Because there's a different definition for that word. Let's see. Reconcile. Here we go. All right. The word reconciles means to reestablish a close relationship between. Okay, that's the first one. To settle or resolve. So, to settle or resolve is to reconcile. To bring oneself to accept. So, to make compatible, harmonious, or consistent. To compare on one financial account so that it's consistent and compatible with another. So in the banking world, if you reconcile something, like if you have a spreadsheet and you have a particular form in that, like say to reconcile your checkbook, you look at your statement and then you look at your checkbook and you see if your withdrawals and deposits matches what's on that statement.
Right.
That's reconciling. So in this case, you want to look at whether or not, and that's when you, in a sense, you can look at it. You'll look at compare. Okay, this is the feelings that I cause you to have. I'm gonna read these steps in a moment because this is what it relates to, and this is, and you describe this feeling to see if it matches what the person is actually feeling. So you already done made withdrawals and deposits because we're talking about a love bank.
Right.
You made the withdrawals and deposits. And then all of a sudden now you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, does this match what happened?
Right.
I did this. I did this. This is how it made you feel. Then you can verify whether or not that person is correctly stated that. And you don't talk much. I'm gonna read the steps so y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. There's
we could give an example of one. It don't have to be pertaining to us. Just after you read the steps.
Yeah, I'm gonna read the steps and then I'm gonna. Again, it also defines the steps, but it'll be 2-hour podcast. We don't want that.
Yeah.
So it says here the steps are here. Steps to reconciliation. If your goal is true reconciliation, you need to care more about the pain you have caused than about your own comfort. So your responses must be clear, concise statements without any explanation or justification for your own behavior. The numbered list is following provides 5 steps to reconciliation and the general context for what you are to say. Number 1, this is what I did wrong, or this is what I did that hurt you. Number 2, this is the pain that I believe I put you through because of what I did. And this is what you felt because of what I did. Ask for feedback to verify that you have accurately identified the person's pain. That's what I said just a few minutes ago. 3, this is how I feel about putting you through that pain. And when we talk about there was a rough part for me right there. Number 4, express your desire, sincere desire, and your intention to change this behavior and not bring this pain into your relationship in the future. And number 5, look at the other person and ask, can you forgive me for this pain that I brought to you, or this wrong that I've done to you? Now, it is good for you to do them all in the order that it says, because if you do them and skip one or add something, it's gonna be messed up.
Yeah.
You're gonna say too much or you're gonna say too little, and then they're gonna want clarification, and then you're gonna talk more, and that's gonna mess it up.
Yeah.
So it's best for you to do it just like that.
Yeah.
And so we read over it that night. So we the next morning the test was on. And like I say, it was unresolved stuff just popped up. And we had an emotional moment. We didn't even last time we discussed it, we didn't have an argument. We basically discussed it, but we didn't resolve it. We never do. We just talk about it, but we never resolved it. So this time I said, you know what, we need to actually do this.
Yeah.
And we need to resolve it once and for all. And re-deal with it so it won't be used. Because I always say that whatever the enemy can build a stronghold in your life, he's going to build it. So whatever is not submitted to the Lord and under the lordship of Jesus Christ, the devil has right to build a stronghold on it.
That's true.
So if you don't give that thing to God, the enemy is going to use it for his own benefit. He's going to use it as a bulwark against you. He's going to use it as a siege in place to fight you from your own territory. Don't you realize that the devil is not shooting from you, but from outside your wall? He's shooting from you inside your wall.
Exactly.
He is actually putting up a siege wall right there on your property, and he's fighting you from your own place of authority. The devil is taking your authority. I heard John Bevere say this. He said the enemy has no authority. He takes your authority and uses it against you. He uses your own words against you. He uses your own thoughts against you. He uses your own actions against you. So whatever he has, he's going to use that against you because he don't have no ability over you unless you give it to him. Adam and Eve could not have sin unless they submitted to the lie. If they would not submitted to the lie and was stood on the truth, the devil couldn't have told them nothing.
No.
But he had nothing to build on. That's why the word tells you to not to give place to the devil. That means don't give him a ground to build that stronghold on. Don't give him ground to stand on. Because if you give him ground, he's going to take an acre.
Yeah.
And if he build that acre, he's going to take more than just that acre. He's taking a whole planet. So if he can take one plot of land, one piece of spot, just enough to fight you from, he'll defeat you from that and he don't have to move until you come to your senses, take authority over the enemy, and pull that stronghold down. Don't give him nothing to fight with. And that's what we was doing, was giving him. We didn't have to fight. He didn't have to find anything new. He was using the same ones.
Yep.
So
over and over. Only thing he was using, the greatest thing we found out today was how we would perceive one another.
Yeah. It was perception.
Yeah, our perception of one another, of each other is what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
It was off.
It was off.
It was off, and that was easy because I'm perceiving the wrong thing, negative mindset. So, honey, he got just
he had a whole house built on that.
And so we realized that he playing one against the other one because he basically was doing the same thing to him, making him think thoughts of me, and making me think thoughts of him. And then we got to realize today that this is realize that this wasn't right.
Yeah.
We had that this area, this not right.
Yeah.
And that that I'm not allowing him room enough to make a mistake and learn from it.
Yeah.
And we also realized that this is unrealistic expectation.
That's it.
You know, I'm expecting him not to fail, not to have shortcomings, not to be have flaws.
Yeah.
So we had to realize this is when we had all these unrealistic expectations. You know, this is not right.
That's
because
right.
He's expecting Miss Perfect and I'm expecting Mr. Perfect. They don't exist.
No.
So we had to realize we was clashing also in that area also.
Yeah.
And that I had to allow him to, make mistakes.
Yeah.
And pray that he learned from them. And I realized that when he would make mistakes, it would be the same ones over and over and over. So now I'm like, okay, wait a minute, whoa. So that's when my perception of him started changing.
Yeah.
Because the mistakes was being made over and over and over. So when I started looking at him differently, instead of me seeing him the way God would see him, that he have flaws, he have shortcomings, I'm like, it changed my perception of him.
Yeah.
So, and then I start seeing him as like, he don't tell the truth, and he say one thing and do another. This all different kind of stuff had came in.
Yeah.
And then he had his thoughts about me. So, and I'm like, okay, this is unrealistic, because I'm thinking he's supposed to be perfect and he's supposed to do it right and say it right and no make a mistake.
Yeah.
And can't nobody live under your unrealistic expectations.
No.
I can't live under his, and he can't live under mine. So that was one of the things we had to learn also, that I say that needed to be, that reconciliation in that area.
That's right.
Because that caused a lot of hurt and that caused a lot of pain also. Yeah. Because it was words that was said and done and oh God.
It was. We went through it, and so what we actually did. And I took off one day, took off Wednesday, because I wasn't feeling good, and so I say, I called in, and so my wife was off anyway. So I told her, I said, you know what, we need to go ahead and do it. It wasn't by accident I did do that. God wanted us to do it. And it was the day was the day. It's for found us to get off this merry-go-round and go ahead and do this. So I actually, we had planned to just go ahead and do it, and then all of a sudden I just went into it. And I asked her, what was the first time that she actually started to feel, because she shared with how she was feeling earlier. And I said, well, when was the first occasion? And then she went back as far as she could remember, and she told me of one event that triggered it all. And
I think I told you one event led to another until it built up from that year all the way up until now.
And it was pretty much around about the same kind of thing. It was just different things over the course of time. But it escalated at one point to my addiction to pornography, because it started me viewing different, chicks online, and I had that dreaded MySpace. Y'all remember MySpace? I don't even know what happened to the dude that owned MySpace. I had one, and I shouldn't even have had that thing. And I don't even know why I had it, honestly. I think it was, I don't know.
It was something new and popular.
It was something new and popular. I got it and didn't supposed to have it, but I had it. And then it went from there to to different things, and over the course of time, I got tempted into pornography, and then I ended up going into that and going into different stuff, and so it escalated. We didn't, because the fact we didn't have any knowledge. We didn't know how to resolve stuff. We didn't know how to deal with stuff. We didn't even know how to resolve conflict, because we didn't argue that much. With one particular time, a few times we did, but that was our first part.
Part of our marriage. We
really
had no reason to have to deal with it.
No.
That's probably why we didn't have no knowledge.
Sure,
we had nothing to deal with, because we always got along. We was always real close. We was like best friends.
Yeah.
So we had really no conflict.
Well, I tell you, the first 10 years of our marriage, we spent locked up in a ministry that we were so busy.
Then I guess that kind of helped. It kept, and
it helped too, but it also kept. I still was dealing with that stuff, because even in the church I was dealing with it.
Yeah, you were.
But it kept us. It kept us busy doing that, but then we had no life.
Yeah.
We didn't have a life at all. For the first 10 of our years of our life, we didn't have a life. We just basically it was church. We was traveling on church here, church there, church this, church that, church here, church every night, church let's revival 2 weeks. We have church on every night. You know, wasn't no rest. Then you go on. Church in the morning till like the afternoon, then afternoon church till the night, and then you're on the road and coming back in the morning. You know, that's the kind of stuff we was doing. And so, you know, and you know, so I would say, you know, I've been in church all day. Oh, evil have I done? Yeah, okay. Till you walk out, until you leave the church, you know, they got some people. Man, I done been left the church and went and commit fornication when I was younger.
Yeah.
The one thing about church, church is for people who are sick. If you sick, that's the place. If you sick, you go to the hospital. If you spiritually sick, you go to church. So for people that say, oh, you know, church is full of hypocrites. Yep, they're full of hypocrites, liars, adulterers, fornicators, drunkards. It's full of all of them. But you know what?
They there for a reason.
They there for a reason.
They there because they want to change, and they want help, and they want to do better.
That's right.
They want a better life, and they don't want to be what they are. That's
right.
Why they are in there.
That's why they're in there. Now, they got some people that are there for different reasons other than that.
Yeah, for courting and dating and trying to find.
Yeah, Mr. Right, Mrs. Right.
Yeah.
And all that other stuff, or they try to get a business connection or whatnot.
Or singing
singing contract
or something.
Yeah, people go to church for different reasons. But you know what? I ain't mad at them.
I ain't mad at them.
One thing, but we like I said, but later on after we started, we wasn't as active in church as we were. We was going to church and we started getting kind of active, and that's when the enemy kind of got in it too. Once we made a decision that we was going to get active in another church, which were more active in doing whatever they do, because our church is always doing something. I mean, they always doing something. So we was active in that, and once we got that, that's when the enemy came. When we really started doing something for the kingdom. Yeah. You're always going to get resistance, and I was talking about that too. How that there's always going to be more resistance when you take off in a rocket, because you got to break one law you got to overcome one law by another law. You got to overcome the law of gravity by law of thrust. So you got to and lift. So you basically got to overcome one law by a greater law. And so to overcome the law of sin and death, we had to get connected to the law of the spirit of life in Christ Jesus. And the law of love had to overcome the law of hatred. Yeah. So what we ended up doing, and this one we're going to talk about us. Okay. Yeah. I ain't going to get into no textbook type of lesson on this. We sat down and we went through the steps. I went through them as best as I can remember, because like I say, I only read it like once that night, and then before we read it, we just read it. We didn't do any lessons or nothing. And she shared with me of the event that had snowballed into this time. And so I actually sat there, and I actually empathize and put myself in her position for a moment. And I thought to myself, you know, when she told me about how certain things I did made her, they made her feel, and I verified that, I repeated that and whatnot. And before I knew it, I was just sitting there. She'll tell you, I was just sitting there for like maybe 5 minutes. I didn't say anything. And I was stuck. I was stuck, one, because I didn't know which way to go from there. Because I got to a certain point and I just got stuck. But I got stuck too because emotionally it started to affect me. And the next thing that came out of my mouth was to say, I had no idea that hurt you that bad. I had no idea. I kept saying it over and over. And so, and my wife knows that if, you know, I start tearing up or crying or whatever, that's got to be, it's something I just don't, I can't just you know, some people that cry on a drop of a hat, you tell them cry, ooh, they'll do it. Not me. It had to be something that'll move me. Either I'm emotionally moved, and then that's when you know it's me, or the Spirit of God will do it. Now, if He rests on me in a certain way, I'll just. That's how they used to know in the church. When I used to go to church, I used to go to. They know when I do that. That's the Holy Ghost, because they don't never see me do that. So, because I'm pretty much, you know, most of the time, you know, I'm stalwart. I'm not like emotional Vulcan or nothing like Vulcan. I'm not emotionless. I'm not just gonna cry easy, and it has to be God. That's one of God's ways of showing people. Yeah. So that was a sign. So to her, every time that was not me. That was not something I'm doing. He's doing it. So now, if I'm really feel bad about something, I will do that. Because it'll hurt me deeply, especially if, and I'll do it with her. Now I ain't gonna cry in front of other people.
Oh no, y'all can forget. No, you can
you
forget
ain't finna
that.
get that.
No, you can forget that.
Yeah, unless it's like I say, unless it's the Holy Spirit following me and I can't help it. But just me doing it, if I feel bad about something, I'll feel bad. But you won't see that.
No, you ain't gonna see no tears.
No, but if she see that, she know that's not me. I mean, I'm not saying it's not me. It's not something that I normally do. Put it like that, and she'll know I'm sincere. That was her sign of sincerity to me, and I did that. Because I really honestly started feeling the hurt that she felt, and believe me, it was a lot, and it was more than I could contain, and I don't see how she dealt with it all these years. And she had been pushing it down because we hadn't been dealing with it, and she just been pushing it down. It got to the point where she couldn't push it down anymore. So it started coming out in fits. She'll have these fits, you know. I say she'd had these spells. I call them spells. That's what I call them. So she'd had these spells, and I didn't realize that what these spells was what it is what was in her was trying to get out. And she didn't know how to express it, so it was just coming out, and she just let it come out, and wherever way it come out, that's how it was coming out. And it was so much that she couldn't push it down. You know how you get something, you fill it up so much, and you can't even close, like a suitcase, you put it down, you try to zip it, and it gets so full, but you can't push it no more in it. That's how it was with her. She was full of, and she could feel it physically. Remember you told me? Yeah. She could physically feel it after we did that. She felt it.
Yeah, it was like a ball. It felt like it was a big ball sitting on the inside of my stomach. Yeah. And I think after you did your reconciliation and you was saying how, you know, how you made me feel and the steps that you took. And I felt like this big old ball just coming up out of my stomach, just lifting up. And I literally felt it lift off of me.
And that was all that stuff that had accumulated over the years. Now you're talking about, that's at least 10, 12 years of stuff. Because all that kind of started around about the 5th, 6th year of our marriage, or something like that. So you're talking about 12 years of stuff that was just pressed down, and we went through. And that's not only just that. it was all the other stuff we had dealing with. Because I had all the stuff I was dealing with wasn't all just because of us. It was other stuff that was coming because what had happened to us in church and my mother passing and then stuff on the job and different things could come. And so, yeah, it was crazy. So we had to, then she asked me if I wanted to do mine. Well, we did a partial with mine because really mine more so was already done. She did mine in the hospital. And when I was in the hospital, she wrote me letters, and she did it through letter. And I think I got freed then from that. And I think that's what helped me really get back in my right mind like that. Because her letters and her coming to see me, you know, looking pretty. She always came looking pretty. She ain't coming looking like Booger Wolf, just coming in any kind of way. Because I done seen people walk in that dope and be like, golly, man. And then I ain't gonna talk about it, but they had one person come in there and she had BO, so I'm just gonna say that. She stomped. So I was like, how you gonna come see somebody like that? That's not gonna, they already dealing with enough. You come in there smelling like everything and anything. Can't do it, man. No. I'm self-conscious of that kind of stuff.
So how it began with me, like I say, when he was in the hospital, and the Lord, I heard the word reconciliation.
Yeah.
I just kept hearing it over and over. The Lord said, I want you to write your husband a letter of reconciliation. He said, I want you to reconcile.
Yeah.
He said, I want you to go back. That's what he told me. He gave me precise instructions. I want you to go back.
Yeah.
As far as you can remember, all the things that he said to you that you said that you did.
Yeah.
You know, your words, your actions, and your deeds. He said, go back as far as you can remember. And he said, write him a letter of apology.
Yeah.
He said, I want you to ask for forgiveness. Say what it was that you did, and how that this made, you know, and express, you know, and this is how it made you feel. So I went through the steps.
Yeah, she went through the steps.
Without even reading the book.
Yeah, she went through
I didn't even know what the steps were. He just told me how to do it.
Yeah.
So I did it the way he showed me how to do it. And then when I read the book, I said, well, okay. So I went back for us. I can, every event that I could think of, I wrote him letters. I mean, it was like about 12, 13 pages that I had written.
Yeah, my wife write letters. She write letters.
Yeah, so I think every night I wrote him a letter. It was at least more. It was more than 8 pages.
Yeah.
So I think that one on reconciliation, I wrote and I told him that I said this, I did this, I made you feel like this, I made you feel like that. I never did justify why I didn't give no say because you did this, and if you wouldn't have said that, I wouldn't have did. No, that's not reconciliation. That's just you justifying why you did what you did. So that's not. Don't do that.
Wow.
You have to focus on that person. So I had to write him, and I had to tell him this is what I did, and this is how I made you feel.
Yeah.
And had to, I gave a apology of making you feel like this, that I said this like this, and I know I wronged you, I know I left you out, you know, the little different things.
Yeah.
And I did that with him. And so and I believe that it really, really helped the process.
Well, like I said, we reconciliation, when you're dealing with that, not only are we to be reconciled to each other, but we are to reconcile people to God. So not only did we need to reconcile to each other, we need to reconcile to God. Because we've been given that ministry according to the word here in 2 Corinthians 5. It said in 17, is a familiar scripture, but we'll read down to about 20. It said, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, this is the NIV, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old is gone, the new is here. That's what reconciliation does. And all this from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. So our ministry is to reconcile you to God and to reconcile you to one another. So that's our ministry. That's what Embrace Ministries is all about. Embracing marriage, embracing God, embracing family, embracing life, embracing one another. So the ministry of reconciliation is what we're about. We're about reconciling you to God and reconciling you to one another. So he said that God was reconciling, saying therefore, that God was reconciling the world to himself in Christ, not counting people's sins against them. And he had committed to us a message of reconciliation. So not only do we have the ministry, the service of reconciliation, but we have the message of reconciliation, that God is wanting to have you back with him.
Right.
And that he feels what you feel. And he knows how you feel. And he wants to bring you back to him.
That's it.
So that's what confession is. Confession is agreeing with God that, yes, this is what happened. This is how I hurt you, God. This is how I did it. And I'm asking you to forgive. Basically, we reconciling when we do confession to God that way. He said, therefore, we are therefore Christ's ambassadors, that though God is making an appeal through us, we implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. We're appealing to you. As God is appealing, as he making his appeal through us, be reconciled. Come back to God. So not only do we want you to come back to each other, but come back to him.
Right.
And when we realize that not only did we wrong each other, but we wronged him by how we wronged one another. Don't you realize that it hurts God when you hurt one another? A lot of people don't realize that when couples hurt one another, or just any relationship though, for that matter, when you hurt one another and you're believers, you hurting each other, you're hurting God as well, because we're in the same body.
Right.
That's just like you taking a hammer and hit your own hand. You're hurting yourself when you hurt your brother and sister. You know, and so that's the thing that we have to look at. Is that God is in the business of reconciling, or bringing us back to our former state, to the place where we were before. He wants to bring you back. He wants to bring us back to the place where we was. And the only way we was going to be able to do it, he had to open our eyes. And the Holy Spirit is the only one can help you with that.
Right.
And so if you're having a problem today, and you're having an issue in your marriage, we want to pray for you. And this is how we can do it.
Right.
And since Nightbody sleep,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it for you.
Yeah. And so while you doing all that, and like I say, in another step will tell you, if you get lost or whatever, you know, in it, pray and ask Holy Spirit to show you, you know, what to do, what to say, and how to say it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can't get like lost for words, or what to do, or what to say, and how to do it.
Yeah.
So just kind of pray, you know, before you do it, and you know, seek God's wisdom and knowledge on this, because that's what I did.
Yeah.
When I did it with him. So that, you know, that you would have great success. And one of the biggest things to do is get yourself off your mind.
That's it.
Don't justify it, because we got a bad habit, you know, because you can start out with the right intentions, you know, to want to do it right, and then it'll go sour.
Yeah.
You know, so
fast.
you have to be focused when you do this.
Yeah.
You cannot have yourself on your mind. You have to you empathizing, and you only thinking about your spouse. It might be your sister, your brother, your grandma, your mama, whoever that feel like you wrong them or they wrong you.
That's
you
right.
can do this with anybody that you that hurt you, deeply hurt you.
Yeah.
It don't only have to be your husband or your wife. They have brothers and sisters and fell out.
That's right.
We have cousins and moms and dads and it's around the board. That's
right. Because in their relationships, God is interested in relationship. They're important to him. He built this whole thing on a relationship. And so it's important to him, and that's why he's into us being one.
Yeah, because I know because a lot of times we tried to get to talk.
Yeah.
And we started off with good intentions and everything, and then all of a sudden it just went sour.
Yeah, because one of us said the wrong thing, and one of us took it the wrong way, or something.
And what we did it with, we didn't do it how I said to do it.
Yeah.
We was justifying why we did what we did, and we just want to be thought about us.
Yeah.
But you not hearing me, I let you have your say. Now why you can't? So no, that's not the time for that.
No.
So you have to make sure that you stay focused on the steps and how to do it, because if not, it's gonna go sour fast.
That's it.
So
Sure
you
will.
just make sure you do not have yourself on your mind when you do this.
Yeah, you got it.
That's a different step. That's something else.
Yeah, that's something else. Yeah. If you add anything to it, it's just like the word. You add anything or take away from it, it ain't gonna work. I'm just gonna tell you that now. But it helped, and it helped us. And like I said, we, it erased in one day a lot of stuff that if we would have done it, it would have been a whole lot longer further than that. Now I'm not saying, but yeah, I am gonna say, yeah, we are better than where we was.
Yeah.
And we're coming a long way than where we were. Like I say, yeah, we're growing, but we're not. We haven't arrived. Or we're growing, but we are better than what we was.
Yeah.
And we're not strumming over that same issue, because that's what basically we was doing, was just tripping over the same thing.
Yeah.
And so when God showed it to us that that's what y'all doing, y'all need to get rid of that hole and fill it up. And so once we did that, it was easier for us to deal with those things and talk about those things that caused the triggers in that, because it was tied to that. And once you get rid of the ground, the devil ain't got nothing to stand on.
Yeah, because one thing a person do want to know, especially if they hurt deeply and you wounded them hurtly.
That's right.
I mean, you hurt them deeply. They want to know, okay, you apologize, but do you really know how this made me feel?
Yeah.
And do you even care? Did this even concern you? Because sometimes we'll say, I'm sorry, and it, with no meaning, it ain't heartfelt. A lot of times I would tell them, well, baby, I said I'm sorry, you need to forgive me. And I'm like,
it ain't heartfelt.
I'm like, it's not heartfelt. So that's why I never felt no empathy. And I always felt like, wait, this not no apology. This not even, no. So they just kept it going. It just buried another layer. So I'm like,
because I was so busy trying to prove to her that what she was saying wasn't correct. I wasn't listening. I was only listening to, and I heard somebody say, and I said this before, and I heard somebody else say it. Sometimes we're so busy listening. We're more busy listening to respond than listening to understand. And that's what a lot of times I was doing. I was listening long enough to respond, not listening long enough to understand. That's why the word tells you to be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. You got to be quick to hear. You got to be ready to listen, and not just listen just to be able to get ready to say something.
Yeah, to defend yourself.
Yeah, but to listen to understand what this person is going through. But like I say, if you need prayer for any situation, no matter what it is, you can leave a prayer request on that on our Discord, which the link is in the chat. You can click on that link; it'll take you to an invite for our Discord. You can go and join us there. You can put a prayer request there. You can put a question if you have any, and we do check it every day. We make sure that we check or a praise report. If you got good news, put it in there too. Yeah. Let us know what good things God doing for you. Shuck you. If you got whatever it is. You help you get a parking spot this morning. Tell about it.
Well, share your testimony.
Share your testimony, because the Bible talks about how that we overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So you overcome him by that. But to check out what we actually about, go to that website, embracingmarriagetogether.wordpress.com. You can go and check us out there. It's at all the platforms of where we are, and you can check us out there. You can go and follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on that website as well. You can also follow us on those other different platforms. We're on Spotify. We're also on Stitcher if you want to download it onto your device or listening to it on whatever you're listening to. You can check us out on check us out here on Twitch. We also do a stream. We do it Sundays and Mondays, unless I'm off on Saturdays. I do on 3-day weekends. Usually the weekends I stream, but during the nights Tuesday through Friday we do a podcast, which is at 8 o'clock Central Standard Time until whenever we stop. So, so we thank God. We're gonna go ahead and close it out. But just join us on the next time. God willing, we'll let you know if we do a stream tomorrow, which like we might do one. We didn't do one for yesterday, so we'll do one tomorrow.
Yeah.
But if we don't, we'll announce it.
Yeah.
We'll let you know. But we thank God for you joining us tonight. And you be blessed, and remember, be reconciled to God.
Yes, and Jesus love you, and we do too.
God bless you. We'll see.
Good night.